All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. Before we get started, just a couple of those normal reminders. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those in by clicking the Q&A or chat section of the lower portion of your control panel. Feel free to chat throughout, as you always do, the ones that have been here before. We'll be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you'd like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of any others, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, plan for today. We are going to chat about how we can make the comfort foods that we all love, maybe just a little bit healthier. Now, all of us probably have a different idea of what comfort foods are, so I'm going to do the best I can today. I'm going to cover some specific ingredient swaps that can make your existing comfort food recipes maybe a little bit more nutritious. Then I will go through some examples of some actual recipes that give a healthier spin on some of the traditional comfort food options out there. Sound good? All right, so let's jump right in here. Let's start with those ingredient swaps. Sugar, this is a big one, right? There are a ton of comfort foods, and for some of us, holiday foods might be coming into season, and a lot of those call for sugar, right? Cutting down on sugar is a great way to improve recipes. Sugar causes inflammation in our bodies. We store excess sugar as fat. It hurts our ability to deal with stress. It hurts our mood, and it can harm our sleep, just to name a few bad things with sugar, as most of us know, right? So it's definitely something that we need to get less of. So let's talk about a few options that can help you cut down on that amount you may be using. So honey and maple syrup are a couple of more natural options. Typically with recipes, you'll use about 3/4 of the amount that calls for sugar. So do some research before you bake. It might not be exactly that way, but that's typically what they call for. That's what the experts, I'm not the expert, that's what the experts say. Also, keep in mind that while these are natural sugar sources, right, it's better than just dumping sugar in there, and our body's going to be able to utilize these sources better. There's better nutrients in them. They're still sugar sources, right? So we just still need to be mindful of the total amount we're taking in. So portion control still comes into play when you're eating whatever you made with these options as well. Another great option for sugar replacement is unsweetened applesauce. So you can usually swap this at a 1-to-1 ratio, but you also will likely need to reduce other liquids like milk or water or whatever you might be using by about 1/4 of a cup, because obviously applesauce is going to have a little more liquid in it to start with. And then also bananas. Swapping bananas for sugar is usually easiest in things like cookies, brownies, pancakes, muffins, those types of things. The ratio usually works best in half the amount, as much sugar is called for. But again, do some research. You might have to do some trial and error here, see what makes sense in your recipe. The last one for sugar here, stevia, is considered one of the better artificial sweeteners at this point. Comes from an actual stevia plant, so that can maybe be a good option for you. You can find it next to the sugar. Usually it comes in either granules like regular sugar, or there's a liquid form as well. The thing to remember with stevia is that you do not need nearly as much of it as you use of sugar. So again, you're going to have to look a little bit at that before you dump the same amount in your recipes, because that's not going to work very well. It's not going to taste very good. I know there's some other options out there for sugar as well, but hopefully these ones can get you started. If you want to throw some other options into the chat, feel free to do so. But again, goal is to just cut down on some of those sugar in some of those recipes. How about mayo? So this is a pretty big staple in things like, potato, egg salad, veggie dip sometimes, and just on sandwiches, right? Which are a big comfort food. Now, mayo isn't all bad, right? But the big drawback that it can have is that a lot of times it's going to have added oils, and mostly processed oils, that can cause inflammation in our bodies and have a negative effect on some of our biometrics, okay? So if we can swap it out for a whole food option, at least sometimes you'll be adding in some nutrients and taking out some of those negative aspects. So one whole food option that you can do instead of mayo is actually avocado. It has a similar texture and spreads on sandwiches easily, or you can throw it into that potato salad. Avocado has a ton of nutrients like fiber, potassium. They actually have more potassium than a banana, fun fact, and healthy monounsaturated fats, which is great for heart health specifically and brain health. And that's just a few of the benefits of avocado. If you're not a big avocado fan, some other options to swap in for your mayo would be hummus, which also goes well in egg salad, tuna salad, or again, on a sandwich itself. Hummus is typically made with chickpeas, tahini, which is just ground sesame seeds, olive oil, lemon juice, and garlic. There's different variations, of course, that's kind of a general one. Hummus is a great source of plant-based protein coming from the chickpeas and also has things like fiber, antioxidants, iron, folate, and B vitamins. Greek yogurt is another option as well, which I'm going to cover here in a minute. So I'm going to wait to go over the benefits for that. Pesto is a good option for things like veggie dip and potato salad. Pesto is typically made with basil, pine nuts, garlic, Parmesan cheese, and olive oil. So you're getting in the healthy fats that come with olive oil and pine nuts, and then multiple benefits that can come with garlic, things like support for our immune system, stuff like that. And then last but not least, the last mayo swap here is just cutting up the hard-boiled eggs for your sandwiches specifically, or again, those are going to be in salads anyways, but on your sandwiches specifically is a great one. Egg is a big part of mayo to begin with, right? So you get a similar flavor, nice amount of protein, and less of that extra processed stuff. All right, next swap is for sour cream. A lot of us love dollop of sour cream on our baked potato taco salad, right? This swap is probably the easiest one you'll find because plain Greek yogurt has a very similar texture and somewhat similar taste to sour cream as well. So give it a try. Now, sour cream and Greek yogurt have similar benefits like protein, calcium, vitamin B12, but Greek yogurt is going to have more of the protein, more of that vitamin B12. And then another added benefit of yogurt in general is for your gut health. Yogurt has probiotics, which are live bacteria that support healthy bacteria in your gut. Just be sure to check that your yogurt has live active cultures for that benefit. That will be right on the label for you. So a couple swaps there. Yeah, yogurt for sour cream on chili. I do it in my creamy potato soup that I make instead of sour cream. I do Greek yogurt. Yeah, that's a super easy swap. Good stuff. And then, yeah, monk fruit, is another sugar substitute option. Great example up there too. Again, more natural options for the sugar. Thank you for the options. All right. I'm going to jump back to that avocado for a minute. So you already know some of the benefits for mayo, right? Because it replaces mayo, but it can also be a healthy alternative to butter and margarine as well. Now, butter, again, it's not all bad, right? But if you get a good quality grass-fed butter, you're going to get some good nutrients. You can get benefits from those things. But I feel like we can always use some other options for a variety of nutrients. And so we're not overdoing one thing, right? Because we can still get too much of some of that stuff. And then margarine specifically tends to have quite a bit of extra processed ingredients that might not be great again. So just looking for some whole food options. So avocado, again, easy to spread for sandwiches instead of that butter or margarine. If you're baking, you can substitute like half the butter for avocado, or you can use it for the whole amount too. But if you do that, again, not me, but the experts in my research recommends to lower the temperature and lengthen the time of baking. So again, just be mindful if you're swapping all of it out for avocado. Another substitute for butter is oil, like coconut oil, which is full of healthy fats. You can swap this for butter and baking at a 1-to-1 ratio, but just know it might change the texture a little bit. Not bad, but just different. Another interesting substitute for for butter and margarine is pumpkin puree. Yes, that's an interesting one that actually a lot of recipes use if you start to do some research on it. Most recommend subbing 3/4 of the amount that's called for, so you're lowering it a little bit. but you're adding in nutrients like vitamin K, potassium, fiber with pumpkin. Pumpkin and squash in that family of vegetables has a ton of benefits. So something to think about there. And then vegetable oil, right? I talked about this when we were talking about mayo. Processed oils like this can possibly affect our body in a negative way, right? So what can you use for swaps when you're creating recipes? Well, we've got our olive oil. We've got, which has those good healthy fats, just like that coconut oil. Olive oil specifically is best substituted for things like dressings, marinades, and things sauteed in lower heat, usually is a recommendation. Then we have coconut oil again with that healthy fat as well. Coconut oil is going to be better for your high heat cooking typically than olive oil, because some, research is showing that it retains its nutrients a little bit better at higher temperatures. But coconut oil can have a richer flavor too, so it might not be right for all recipes, but give it a shot if you want to. Flaxseed oil is another great heart healthy option. This one should be only used for marinades and salad dressings in place of that other vegetable oil, as it's not heat stable like that coconut oil. So it tends to break down a little bit at the higher temperatures. And then our avocado, again, makes another appearance, this time in oil form. This oil also has what we call that high smoke point, like coconut oil. So you can use it for grilling, baking, but you can also use it for dressings, marinades, sauces, things like that. Lots of options for oils. And again, these aren't the only ones. So I encourage you to do your research. Throw in some other ideas, which I think somebody else says grapeseed. Yeah, I believe that's a pretty good one. I don't know a lot about that, so I won't say too much about it, but do your research on some of those other oils if you're interested in any other ones. Yeah, smoke point is definitely something to pay attention to. Just making sure that because we don't want those nutrients to break down. It can cause other issues in your recipes. For the oils, typically, yes, 1-to-1 swap, if that's your question, because it's same form, vegetable oil, we're just swapping a different type of oil. So typically 1-to-1 swap. And then last ingredient here is flour, refined flour, the one that most recipes call for, right, has pretty much zero nutrients and raises our blood sugar. So a couple swaps for recipes that can add in some great nutrients with your flour. First is almond flour. So that's literally just ground up almonds, right? So high in protein, healthy fats, and fiber. For that one, we're using 1/4 of a cup to 1 cup ratio. So definitely you're not using as much. Coconut flour has fiber, healthy fats, again, coconut. We're using a lot less with these than the regular flour. So 1/5 to 1 cup ratio. And you might actually need to add more liquid to your recipe with coconut flour. Again, research-based, for your experts out there. I'm not a great baker, so I'll blame it on the research if that's not right. Again, trial and error, right? We just got to try different things. Oat flour, ground up rolled oats, which is high in fiber and actually has some protein in there. Again, 1/5 to 1 cup ratio as well. Also, other flour swaps out there too, nut flour, that's another one. Same thing as kind of almond, right? There's just different options with that. And once again, I'll throw that out there. Try different things, see what you like. You can't really go wrong with trying new options to get more nutrients in there. Canola oil, I got a question on canola oil there. It is more processed, right? Asked if it was the same as vegetable oil. Typically, they're similar, just more processed stuff. Canola oil specifically tends to have some processed ingredients in it. So that's why we want just some other options with it. Still works, right? I mean, people still use it, but if you want some different nutrients and maybe some less processed stuff, that's why we're swapping that stuff out. All right. So let's do a few more here, and then we will get on to some of the recipes. Let's talk about some food swaps rather than just ingredients within those recipes, right? So I'm going to start with rice. It's a staple in many diets, obviously, and it's a really easy side dish. But the thing with rice, and actually the rest of these things on this page, it's easy to overeat, right? It can carry a lot of extra carbohydrates. that break down really easily into our body or in our bodies into sugar. And then if we don't use up that excess sugar in our bodies, we end up storing it as fat. So really easily stored stuff with the carbohydrates and things like that. So something we really want to watch the amount we're taking in. Carbohydrates, we need carbohydrates, okay? But we tend to eat too much. So quinoa is a great option to try. Still has carbohydrates, but it's a little bit less than your normal rice. And it also has more fiber than white rice and also has double the protein. It's a very similar texture and not much taste, in my opinion. So you can pair it similarly as you do with rice. For those getting ready to ask, yes, brown rice, wild rice are typically better choices as it's going to break down in our body slower because it's not as refined, right? You've got some more whole grains in there that take our time. Our body takes more time to break down. So better options. But again, just something we should watch overall, kind of like the sugar conversation, right? We just need to watch the overall amount that we're eating. Look for some other alternatives that give us some more benefits. So another option for rice is cauliflower. You may hear this more with potatoes, which I'm going to touch on in a minute, but you can also rice your cauliflower to make it very similar to regular rice as well. Cauliflower has fiber for our digestive system and helps us to feel full. It has antioxidants that help fight inflammation, chronic diseases. Cauliflower has choline in it as well, which helps maintain our cell health and our brain and nervous system development. So really lots of stuff in something that we don't really think about with cauliflower, right? It looks plain, it looks drab, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. You can also buy ready-made steamer bags of already riced cauliflower in your freezer section. And most of the time, there's no extra ingredients in there. It's frozen, cut up, frozen, all set, right? So someone like me who just is not great, throw that in the microwave, you've got that cauliflower rice ready to go. Not much easier than that. And then noodles, right? We all love our pasta. I mean, great, easy comfort food. But again, similar to rice, it's an easy filler food, but it's so easy to go overboard on the portions, overload our bodies with extra carbs that will end up getting stored again as that fat, cause inflammation, which can lead to all sorts of issues. So two whole food go-to options for noodle substitutes. Wow, I can't speak today. For substitutes are spaghetti squash and zucchini. So spaghetti squash has really great benefits. Alpha, beta carotene, which the body turns into vitamin A, so eye health, antioxidants, all that good stuff. It's also a good source of vitamin C, which is another antioxidant that fights free radicals in our bodies. Those are the things that cause chronic diseases, things like that, cancer. Calcium is another benefit of spaghetti squash, which most of us know helps with bone health, right? So there's some great things when you're subbing in spaghetti squash. And again, similar to my pumpkin, all of that family has lots of good benefits. Zucchini itself, some people were mentioning what are zoodles. It's zucchini noodles because someone mentioned zoodles. I actually had that listed, then I changed it to zucchini so I wouldn't be confusing. But yes, zoodles is another name for noodles made out of zucchini. You can make those yourself. They also sell, they have a spiralizers, they're called, that you can make zucchini noodles out of zucchini and other vegetables. Zucchini is typically the easiest. Otherwise, you can buy them pre-zoodled, if you will. So, all right. Let's see. Zucchini has vitamin C, potassium, fiber, B vitamins. One big B vitamin that zucchini has is folate. Very important in women's health, especially if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant. Keep in mind too that I'm not listing all of the nutrients in these foods. I'm just hitting the big ones. So if you're curious on, more of a why are we swapping these things? How are they making my foods healthier? Please do some research. I also have recipes for both spaghetti squash and zucchini noodles coming up. And I really love all of the options that you are saying in the chat. Again, I mean, there's so many different ways to sneak in some of these foods. So share everything you can. We're helping each other out here. All right. And again, with pasta, whole wheat pasta is better than refined pasta. But again, that overall amount, we can still get some better options if we swap out some of these whole food options every once in a while. And then lastly, potatoes, mashed potatoes specifically is what I'll reference here. Almost everyone has a heaping pile of these on their plate during get-togethers, right? Mashed potatoes, you pop them on there, right? They're great comfort food. Now to clarify, potatoes in general have great nutrients in them. So don't get me wrong about that. But like I've been saying with rice and noodles and pasta, they tend to be a bit heavy on the carbs and our portions tend to be a little out of control, right? And a little bit of variety can benefit you in the long run. Also, potatoes tend to have most of their nutrients in their skin. So when we do mashed, most people get rid of that part. So we're losing a lot of the great benefits that come with potatoes in general. So cauliflower, again, is a great swap. I already talked about the benefits of that in recipe coming in a few minutes with that one too. And one thing I just want to add before I jump into the recipes here, it's not always about swapping ingredients or, doing a bunch of changes to your recipes to make things healthier. Sometimes it's simply about adding in healthier ingredients to existing recipes. So adding in fruit to your comfort food. Oh, oatmeal is a big comfort food, I feel like, for a lot of people too, right? Add in some fruit to that, add in some cinnamon, add in some things that have benefits and more nutrients. Yogurt is another thing that you can throw in some fruit with to flavor it up. Throw in some chopped veggies into soups. Maybe you have canned soups already. It might not be perfect, but if you can throw in some veggies in there, you're going to make it a little bit better. Shredding veggies into casseroles or sauces. Making an omelet, throwing in mushrooms, spinach, whatever it may be. Things like zucchini, spinach, carrots, all these things are really easy to hide in existing recipes, or again, like I said, even into pre-made foods. So I'm just scratching the surface here with this slide in general, but really use your imagination. I bet you can come up with some great ways to just improve, add nutrients to your comfort foods by just adding in something. People already said shredded carrots to tomato sauce. What are some ideas? Please keep sharing them as I'm rambling on here, because you guys are the experts with things that you've tried. All right, let us get to some recipes here. So again, depending on where you are from and your culture, I may not hit everyone's specific type of comfort food here, so I apologize in advance. Hopefully, you can use at least some of the tips we've already covered. And again, share different things in the chat as we go. But I'm going to cover some different ideas here for you, ones that I've kind of already touched on. Also, don't try to write everything down on these slide recipes, because you're just going to get mad at me for not waiting long enough on each slide. Okay, we only have a limited time. So if you can screenshot, great, but if you can't, just wait. You'll be able to download the slides on our blog post that will be coming within the next 24 hours. And the link for that will be shown at the end here. So again, spaghetti squash, I mentioned this as a swap for the noodles. It's actually pretty easy to make. All you have to do is cut that squash in half, scoop out the seeds and those fibers in the very middle of it. You'll know what it is when you open it up. Sprinkle with a little salt and pepper to your liking, and then we're going to cook it till it's tender. So a couple things with this, as I have made this a decent amount of times. To make the squash easier to cut in the first place, you can pierce it a few times with the fork, throw it in the microwave for a minute or so to soften it up. That usually helps. And I also find that I usually have to cook mine a little bit longer, at least in my oven. So just pay attention to that tenderness. If it's not done, keep it in there for a little bit longer, because you want to make sure it's really easy when you use that fork. It should be super easy to scrape out that squash, and it's going to separate. It's going to look just like in this picture here. Really easy stuff. Let's see here. So just want to throw this out here, right? Spaghetti squash is not going to taste exactly the same as spaghetti. Okay. If you've never tried it before, if you have, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not, you have to give it a chance, right? Your body's going to thank you for it. Your biometrics are going to thank you for it, even if your taste buds take a little time to get used to that new texture and taste. Okay. All right. Perfect. And then bonus recipe, I just wanted to throw this in there. You know, if you want to go a step further and make your own spaghetti sauce, here is just a general, I mean, you get lots of different recipes for sauces, right? And I didn't even talk about adding in sliced shredded carrots and stuff like that, but throw in some veggies in this sauce too, throw it over that spaghetti sauce, and away you go. Okay. And this one uses our olive oil instead of processed oil, uses honey as a sweetener instead of sugar. So more whole food options in this spaghetti sauce as well. Mushrooms, capers in your spaghetti squash. I'm sure it is the bomb. I love that comment. Sorry, I just saw that. So, and the other person who said that took me a few times to love it. Now I rarely use any pastas. That's it, right? We need to give ourselves a chance. We need to give our minds and our taste buds a chance just to get used to it, but it will. We have to be patient with ourselves. All right, soups are another common comfort food. Well, we talked about this a little bit. So you can throw that spaghetti squash noodles into some chicken noodle soup with this recipe here. And again, throw in some veggies, chicken if you want. If you want to make it vegetarian, keep the chicken out. And then again, you've got your spaghetti squash, you've got some other herbs and things here. Really good option for some chicken, quote unquote, no noodle soup for this. All right, lasagna. That's a good one. You know, lasagna casseroles in general, comfort foods for a lot of people, right? So this recipe is almost identical to a regular lasagna, but we use zucchini noodles instead of regular noodles. So again, lots of good herbs and spices. You don't need to add the ground beef if you don't want. You can substitute turkey or other protein or no protein at all. We use ground venison in our house a lot of times. But so this looks like a lot of ingredients, right? But it's lasagna. There's just a lot, but it's a lot of easy ingredients. And then again, don't be intimidated by the instructions. There's just a lot of layers in lasagna. So yeah, I'm not going to hit all these instructions, but just know it's not bad once you get into it. If you've made lasagna before, again, same exact thing, except we're swapping out the lasagna for the noodle, or excuse me, the zucchini for the noodles. All right, so let's do some of those mashed potatoes as I promised, right? Eggplant, good comment on the last one. Eggplant can be substituted for lasagna noodles as well. Great thought on that one. All right, so again, mashed potatoes, we tend to indulge a little bit too much. A lot of you have probably seen or heard about cauliflower mashed potatoes. Some might have a strong opinion on them, good or bad, but again, they're not going to be exactly the same, but you can, if you have good recipes, if you find something that you like, you can get close. So keep trying, please. Let's see here. So this one specifically, it has garlic as a great flavor, as well as some different options for garnish if you want to use that stuff. So this recipe, big tip with cauliflower potatoes is to really work at getting the excess moisture out of them. That's typically where we go wrong. We don't spend enough time getting the moisture out of it. So this recipe calls for you to drain it, but you can also put it in a cheesecloth or even a regular towel after you put it in the food processor if it still has some extra moisture. You don't need a food processor. If you don't have one, you can use a potato masher or a hand blender. Might just be a little lumpier, but that's okay, right? Might bring back some memories of some of your yummy family lumpy potatoes and get-togethers, family or friend get-togethers, I should say. Mashed no potatoes. I like that. Comment. I should have put that on there. All right, we'll change the title of it for next time. All right, I am almost out of time. I apologize. Apple crisp, my favorite food in all of the world. So just swapping out some whole food options here. Apples, maple syrup for a sweetener instead of loads of sugar, almond flour, old-fashioned oats for some good fiber. Again, nuts, cinnamon, coconut oil, lots of good stuff for this apple crisp. And then the recipes on this next slide here. Again, screenshot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time since I'm already over my time limit, but download the slides from the blog here in the next few hours or next 24 hours, and you can have all these recipes for you. And then, of course, we want some ice cream, right? Comfort food, ice cream, hand in hand. So banana ice cream. All right. give it a try, open your mind. Simple, the texture is very close to real ice cream. Obviously, taste is going to vary a little bit, but look at all these options to flavor it up. Cocoa powder, you can stir in some chocolate chips, you know, to get some of that chocolate. There's just lots of different options. Peanut butter, berries, strawberry, vanilla bean, pistachio. So many good options for the ice cream here. So again, really easy to to make that option. So all you do with that is you mix it up, you toss them in a blender or food processor, and then you're done. You can eat it right away. It could be a little more like soft serve, or you can throw it in the freezer and make it more like the traditional scoop ice cream. So again, lots of options, lots of good stuff here. Okay, to summarize, time, look for simple swaps to just be better, right? We're not looking for perfection in our life. We're just looking for progress, make things a little bit healthier. And then be open-minded. Again, like I mentioned a few times, might not work right away. You might not like every recipe you try, but keep trying, keep finding some whole food options to swap in there to make those comfort foods a little bit better, and all other foods. And then just, yeah, keep trying new things. Just be open. You'll find something you like eventually. Yeah, that salad looks good, right? That's why I picked that picture. It looks delicious. All right, I will stay after for some questions if anyone does have any. But here are the next webinars. Last webinar of 2023, setting boundaries. It's going to be a good one to get ready for the new year. And then even better to get ready for the new year, we're going to talk about SMART goals. You know, being more specific with your goals is always a great option to set yourself up for success. All right. If your company does have lifestyle rewards, you might have to answer questions. Most of you will not, but if you do have to answer questions, these are the questions for you. This will be listed, again, will be available on the blog and the slides too, if you need those again, but pretty easy questions for you. And then here's our contact information. We're on social media. You can get, again, blog. This is where you're going to find the recordings of the webinar, find the slides to download. You can register for upcoming webinars. And then, of course, you can always contact us. You can give us a call. You can email us. We would love to answer any questions you have, or if you have any trouble finding it. I see someone finding the blogs. Shoot us an email. We can direct you to the specific links if you're looking for that too, or give us a call as well. We'd love to help you out with that.